We had a limited edition collectible that was inspired by Metroid. We created out of resin and sculpted it by hand, the original, cast it, and then offered it up. And apparently a lot of people really wanted it. It was a companion piece because Linda Lee, aka Vampy Bit Me, was doing a cosplay of Samus from Nintendo. And in order to convey the character a little bit more, we wanted to create a prop that she could use to further accentuate the costume and make it a little bit more believable. So we originally sculpted an original big one that was 11 pounds. It was a little bit heavy to carry around. After that, she was like, can we create something a little bit smaller? So we created a baby version. Because she tweets and posts on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, a lot of people saw it and they really wanted us to do a commission piece for them. Unfortunately, the time it takes to do something like that is so long that all we could do is a small version. And that's what we have at Comic-Con 2014 is what we call the Hatchling, a pendant-sized version of the original sculpture that we did for her Samus cosplay. Well, the hatchling needs to be in a gel, like a jellyfish type of enclosure, so it's a double cast. What that means is we have to sculpt out the original nucleus, make a mold of it, cast the mold, take that cast, and then put it into another mold that includes the dome, because the dome needs to be absolutely clear. So that means that it has to actually be casted twice. So it's not necessarily a difficult thing, but it's definitely a time-consuming thing because each piece needs to be actually hand-painted first as well before casting the clear dome on it so that everything can be visible through the gelatinous jellyfish dome that it has. That is actually more of a technique thing with the resin casting. When you cast resin, every little imperfection bubbles, that's going to cloud it up even more and more. So when we paint it, we try to do very highs and lows in terms of contrast. It's not blended as tightly as someone like Crayola, who does great rendering and it's a gradient. We wanted to have a low, a medium, and a high to make it very video game-ish, very cartoony, very pop-ish. Once that's done and we want to cast into the dome needs to be vacuum chambered, meaning like the pressure of the vacuum chamber in which the necklace is in is going to push all the bubbles all the way to the top. If you don't do that, you could still get a dome, but it's going to be really cloudy because there's going to be thousands of bubbles in it. So every single necklace was pressurized to ensure a very clear dome structure. One, since we knew that we wanted to make it a wearable piece of art, it's actually half the size of a, I guess, normal hatchling. It's not 3D, meaning that we cut it in half so that it can rest upon someone's chest a little bit easier. Otherwise, it's actually an easier process because we're not trying to cast something that's that large with that much volume of clear resin. It's a toxic material, sometimes it won't cure right. You don't really know what's going to happen until it fully cures, and if we took all the time to create a nucleus, paint it really nicely, and then have it wobble over in the mold while it was curing, that would be horrible because then we have to start again. So if we have a bum cast for the hatchling, no big deal because we can cast one in the span of an hour and we can be okay. Plus it's a lot faster to go through and the clarity is easier to get because it's such a thin piece of resin that there's not as many chances for bubbles to stick inside and stay there. Well, we knew, before we came to Comic-Con, we knew that we wanted to create a lot of them. So pretty much 80% of the development time of the project overall was front-loaded, meaning we had to duplicate. So we sculpted one, made a mold of that one, casted, took out the mold, made a cast, sanded the cast, and made a master that was the one that we're going to base everything else off of. After we had the master, then we started making multiple molds over and over and over again so that we have enough volume of molds to create many casts at once. Once we had about 50 different casts, then we made a master mold that was 50 at a time. Because what we're doing is we're trying to systematize and essentially create a Chinese sweatshop in the garage. So, and that's just for the nucleus, and then we had to repeat the same process for the dome And then once we had the dome master mold and then the nucleus master mold, then that's when production started going. We could do a lot of things at one time without having to just do everything granularly, because that would have taken way too much time, and we wanted to fulfill the apparent demand that people really liked it. So we figured Comic-Con, there's a lot of traffic, and we wanted to be more prepared than not. So that really helped us out. Well, I think between, after this project, I know Linda has a lot of new cosplays that she wants to debut, and we'll probably be doing combos of props and her work, because she does a lot of soft goods and hard goods, and I can do props as well because of my sculpting background. So expect a lot of new, interesting video game, anime, comic, manga related products that will never see the light of day from a licensing perspective, but fans of the series and the properties will really appreciate what we bring to the table. So look for us at cons and events throughout 2014 and the coming years.